Good morning. Welcome to Screen Junkies Universe. I'm Roth Cornet, and I'm joined by these brilliant minds today to unpack the most important issues of our time. Spencer Gilbert.
Hello.
Roxy Striar.
Hello.
Dan Murrell.
Hello.
Hello. Let's talk
Felt
about.
like I had to fit in.
Rule of threes, Dan.
Yeah.
Good job.
Well, that's called a survival instinct known as belonging. You wanted to belong in that moment, and you do, and so do you. Let's talk about Kitty Pryde. There's a spinoff in development, X-Men spinoff in the works featuring Kitty Pryde. This is via Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter. Fox has hired writer Brian Michael Bendis, who you guys might know if you read comics, to develop a script for Tim Miller to direct this movie, which...
Friend of Screen Junkies, Tim Miller.
Friend of Screen Junkies, Tim Miller, also Deadpool director.
Is that the truth?
Yeah, he's been here.
He came in and did some stuff. Yeah.
We say
BFF.
that when we've seen a person on the street. Yeah, that's like
That's true.
friend of the
And
show.
I have so many friends.
Yeah, we got a lot of friends.
Yeah.
So it's the title is 143. We do not know much about it at all. I presume Ellen Page is not returning to reprise the role at this point, but you never know.
143 means I love you.
I love you.
Right?
Yeah.
143. I love you. 143.
This is so before any of our audience's time.
Yeah.
See, when you had to communicate to each other on pagers, you could only use numbers, right? And you could spell very few words. You could spell boob, boobless, 911, hell,
And 143.
and 143, which is the I love you.
But it's
one letter,
one
four
letter,
letters,
yeah.
3 letters. So
And,
recognize.
and
Did you
could
know
also
any of
do
that?
the.
Yeah.
Wow, you didn't know?
I
No.
think
That's
why I
I
chuckle
think
when I
it
hear
briefly. I think it briefly also transitioned to the texting world back when you had multi-tone phones, or you had to go like boop boop boop. Boop, 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 boop. You had to like hit the numbers like
like
a
our
few
version
times
of
to get a
Morse
letter,
code.
so you could just go like 143 instead of like ILLOOOVVEE.
Oh,
It took
T9
forever. It took
word.
forever.
I don't
that
know.
I'm that. I remember when texting,
I
you
do
had
too.
to do
Did you
it
guys
like
have
numerically.
pagers?
No, I
Yeah.
never had a pager. I had a
You
Nokia.
had a
brick.
pager.
How did you guys steal
Spencer had a
drugs?
pager, exactly.
Great point.
So there's only
Great
one
point.
person I was paging, and I was not saying I love you. I was saying I love what you got for me.
Were you?
Oh,
wow. Got it. Okay.
Are you in the witness protection?
I'm kidding. I
learn
didn't
new
even know what
things
we were
every
talking
day.
about.
It could mean something else, Roth, which is the issue number.
Yes, it could be.
or not. Whatever.
You were the one that brought us down this track, so
And
why
brought
don't
us
you
back.
get us right back?
1963's Uncanny X-Men comic, issue 143, where Kitty Pryde is left alone at the mansion on Christmas Eve
63.
and battles Ngarai demon. That's N apostrophe Garai, which I believe is pronounced Ngarai.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
yeah.
might
I
be
believe in the
73.
traditional.
Yeah, that
I think that's
well,
73. X-Men debuted.
It kinda started
early
right around
60s.
then.
Yeah, but I think it might be 73. Let's fact check that.
We'll fact check that.
Can we fact check
Billy,
that?
can we
Billy?
fact check that? Here's what's crazy about this. First of all, it's moving forward seemingly completely disconnected from the rest of the X-Men universe, which is fine, and that certainly worked for Logan and Deadpool. So following that trajectory is pretty cool. But it's also seemingly not taking into account the potentially impending Disney deal. They have to move forward and be creative. But I do think it's just going to be such an odd negotiation over the next couple of years. Are you excited to see Kitty Pryde?
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
there's so many X-Men movies. It's like, yeah,
Dan is
right.
so excited.
Fine.
I think this is the right kind of X-Men movie where it's a standalone story. It's kind of contained, and Tim Miller's proven he can do that with Deadpool. But also just big picture is like this merger. This is like 2 Titanic-sized yachts having sex with each other. It's like, this isn't gonna happen.
Where's the iceberg?
It's right in the middle. This isn't gonna happen quickly. It's like the merger hasn't even been like approved yet.
No,
And
no,
it
it's
could
about
also
18
be like
months.
Comcast. So
Yeah.
Fox has to just proceed as they were before, which is like slowly drifting into this ocean. And
So do you
Disney-
feel like this project could potentially not even happen based on the merger?
No.
No, I think it would. Like by the time the merger happens,
The movie will be out.
The movie will be out.
Well, it won't be out. It'll
Or
be
well into
yeah,
production.
Post-production?
the train will have left the station.
And is that on the Titanic ship or where's
the
the
train? The
That's-
train is on land.
Oh,
Yeah.
I totally understood every bit of both of your analogies.
These analogies are really holding up.
on
At
transportation.
a certain point, in terms of a movie of this size, at a certain point, even if they know that it's not going to be good, even if they know that it's a disaster, they have to release the movie. Like that's just any movie of this size, and that applies to movies that we have all seen.
Yeah,
you know, they just had to release Fantastic Four.
I know, but that's the thing, though, is like the way that it works now, and I guess it's because they're all corporations, and you can't just like work on something and then say didn't work, because that's kind of how movies used to be made. You'd bring in people creatively to work on a project, and they'd sit in a room together for 2 or 3 or 4 months, and they'd kind of bang their heads together and figure out, like, is this going to work? Is this going to be a script? Like, who do we want to direct and everything? And then sometimes, after a few months, they would go back to the studio, and they'd go, like, couldn't crack it. And then you didn't have a movie because, you know, they tried and they didn't. But now the way that it works is that, like, they announce everything, and it's like, we're doing a Kitty Pryde movie. We haven't started yet, but it's going to happen. We're doing it. And then so you've announced that you're doing it, so now they have to do it, right?
So do you wish that they didn't announce it until we were further along in
development? I wish that they were like, hey, Brian Michael Bendis and Tim Miller have been working on this thing, and they've been working on it for a few months, and we got a director, and we've got a star, and we're deep into production, and we're really excited about this movie. But now it's like the Joker movie, and everything now, because the studios have leaks, and there's 47,000 different websites, and they're all searching for scoops.
Scoops.
You can't work on anything in secret anymore, and so I feel part of that thing is like studios are almost obligated to make things because you can't develop anything without.
Because they've spent so much on this
it.
IP, and they're trying to show their investors they're making sure thing movies. So they say, like, we have a Joker movie, and we're putting it in this year, if not this very weekend. And then from there, you back into making a movie, not from building a movie from the ground up.
Right,
with a
which
story
is how
and
it should be.
Director and stuff like that.
Sure, but I mean, listen, I think that it's tempting. Some of these movies won't come to fruition that we talk about. There have been plenty of movies that have been reported and in development and in process, and until it's really far enough along the line that they've spent a ton of money on it, like we may not see this. We probably will see this one, but there are plenty of movies that have been talked about and reported as being in development that we don't. I also think we romanticize the past a lot. You know, the studio system was churning out hundreds of mediocre movies a year, and we remember the greats. In 30, 40 years, we'll remember the greats from this era too.
But I also think that how many stopped and started Batman movies have we learned about retroactively over the years? Oh, this project tried to come together and it didn't fall through. This project tried to come together and it didn't fall through. It just seems like now studios almost seem like they're committed to having to do these things, or people are like, what's going on? What's wrong? What's happening? Is there trouble? Do they need to? And it's like, it's putting the cart before the horse. You have to stake out a date. If Universal had stopped for a second and actually thought out the dark universe, they probably could have saved themselves a lot of time and money, either with a better series of movies or by not doing it.
You know what the sad thing is? They did think it out. I mean, that's the part where it's like sometimes things just don't work. You know, like they got Alex Kurtzman. They did think it out in advance. They had a plan. They thought it was going to work, and it just didn't work.
They had a picture. They had a picture of Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie and Tom Cruise. They didn't plan out the movies. If they'd sat down and actually tried to make a plan instead of going like, we got Tom Cruise, we got to shoot this thing, put it out, and then we're going to work. I mean, Bride of Frankenstein, like they were still writing it. They're still trying to figure out what it was. I'm saying, like, sit down and plan something out. What is it going to be? Where are we going with it? What's the path forward? 2 years from now, 3 years from now, if you want to develop these things, or, you know, if you want to develop a property, just sit down and work on it for a while before you're just like, we're doing it and here's the date.
Nah.
Yeah,
Not in the mood.
I think that there's probably a mix of that, right? Where everybody's trying to do the created universe and the shared universe, and everybody's trying to do. I have a friend who works for a production company that's like a big franchise, and one of the movies was terrible in the last few years in this
Well, that
franchise.
could be any franchise.
Yeah, that could really be anyone,
that's
actually.
literally
Sure,
any
but I
franchise.
remember having lunch with her, and she was talking about it, and she was talking about the development process and getting to the point that they were screening it and realizing it wasn't good. And there was, at that point,
It's too late.
too late. Nothing they could do. Nobody intended it to go that direction. They had made a great movie the movie before, and they made a really good movie in the movie after. There's like a weird alchemy. There's like a magic to filmmaking in a way, and sometimes it just doesn't work.
Very true.
And it's
Yeah,
not
this
there.
isn't a. You can do things on the studio side to like maximize their chances by getting like talent that with a proven track record and an IP that people like, but like there's something there that you can't like left brain algorithm calculate, and you really have to make the movie before you know if you have a good movie, which is incredibly inefficient, but that's what we got.
The sad reality.
Yeah.
And sometimes you end up with things that are terrible and weird, and sometimes you end up with things that are brilliant and weird, and a lot of times you end up with boring whatever that you'll forget.
Yes.
And we'll remember, like, I'll remember Boss Baby, for example, for which I finally saw.
The Babyverse.
It is the most relevant film of our time. Willy, I want to reenact.
Different video. We'll get into that.
It's a whole different thing.
I want to reenact how this story came to us this morning. Billy, can you come up here for a moment?
Summoning
We got a Billy Business entrance.
Billy to the
Wow.
office, please. Billy to
We
the
gotta
office.
summon Billy.
This
up, Chief?
morning, Billy and I are on the phone talking about our day, and he says the following thing to me.
So every morning I call Roth because I'm like, here's kind of what's going on. I said, so second story, Willy Wonka reboot
No.
from the Paddington directors.
Oh.
Literally, that was the only interaction. Then I was like, third story.
Yeah.
Willy Wonka is getting rebooted.
No.
Which exactly, but from Paul King, director of the two Paddington movies.
Still no.
Okay.
It's a hard pass for Spencer.
I'm so upset about this.
You are.
Yeah.
Do this already? Look at that.
Yeah, it's just one of the original film is one of the only movies that, okay, I don't know if you guys know this. I have a very hard time remembering films, like films that I saw the day prior. So if TV shows are my jam, but movies, sometimes they just come and go. Willy Wonka it's amazing, and you remember every bit of it. The storyline, it's so unique. The original film is incredible. The reboot was not as good. Why would it be? There was nothing wrong with the first one. Why did you reboot it? Just watch the first one. And now we're going to reboot it again? Because what? Because you guys don't want to watch the original one? Because it doesn't... Because what?
Tell the youths.
But wait, Roxy. This time, it's going to be a prequel. You're going to find out where Willy Wonka got his hat, where Willy Wonka got his cane.
Where did the Oompa Loompa come from?
Yeah, where he got his pants.
That's the worst.
Where he got his shoes.
That's the worst part of it all.
I know.
I know.
I mean, like, talk about not making it better. I'm speechless of why somebody was like, this is a good idea. It's not a good idea. I will see it. Obviously, I love Willy Wonka.
But you just made their entire case. Yep, that was amazing.
Yeah.
This is a
The
terrible
schnozberries
idea.
taste
I
like
will see it.
schnozberries.
I will pay you money for it. That was amazing.
Like, what? Why? What are we gonna watch him do?
Well,
the
apparently,
Oompa
according to Warner Brothers is developing this with Paul King, as I said, who is the Paddington director. This is being produced by David Heyman, producer of Paddington and the Harry Potter movies. You know, Simon Rich of Inside Out wrote the script.
I love it.
All right. Listen, I don't think it's a good idea either. And my gut reaction was exactly what you heard. Like, no, we've seen this and it was terrible. This is a prequel, which always gives me pause as well, because when is that the only time in history that has worked out? And this is going to be total hyperbole, and I'm going to see 200 examples in the comments of the times that it has besides this. But where it really worked was The Godfather. Brilliant.
Godfather 2, you mean?
Too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Like, brilliant movie, but so many times you just demystify the thing that does not need demystifying.
It was a prequel and a sequel.
Yeah, it was.
So here's my
both.
pitch. We do the Willy Wonka prequel, but also the sequel takes place modern day.
And he's in the mafia.
San Fernando Valley. Guy Fieri has disappeared into Flavortown.
Okay.
And people at Guy's American Grill get a golden chicken wing.
Yes.
And they get to go enter Flavortown because he hasn't been making diners, drive-ins, and dives.
And you do get that ticket.
Now you're
Get
speaking
Triple
my
D.
language.
He hasn't. He's left. He's disappeared from Triple D and retreated to behind the walls of Flavortown.
So is it like
you have the
barbecue
parallels.
sauce and no chocolate?
Oh, it's
or-
donkey sauce. There's a river of donkey sauce running through Flavortown where everything is edible and
I'd go see it.
and full of loaded potato skins, just the whole room. and a lucky young
What are
boy
they gonna
gets a
do?
trip to see.
I feel like they
Fairy
put
Town.
themselves in a.
Flavortown, excuse me.
It's brilliant. I feel like
I'd
they
watch
put
that.
themselves into a corner here. Like, Why do you want to know about the everlasting gobstopper prior to where we saw it? Why do you want to know about the wall of flavors prior to where we saw it? Why do you want to know about the Oompa Loompas prior to where we saw them? What do you want? Do you leave that asking yourself, like, but I wonder what a baby Oompa Loompa looks like? Like, I don't think you did, Roth. I don't think that was your question.
I have Oompa Loompa questions. I'm not saying that they're going to be addressed in this film or that they should be addressed in this film, but I do have questions about the entire structure of that culture and that society. It seems like
They've been captured.
They've been captured and forced to work
like
there.
it.
They seem like the elves out of Harry
So
Potter.
that's what you want? You want a movie about how they were captured and forced to work there?
I
and,
didn't
what
say
we're
I
re-
want that
how we're watching
movie.
this
I'm
cult of a
saying-
Just
film.
saying, there's questions.
There's questions.
I'm devastated. It's brutal.
Dan,
I refer the committee to my comments previous. Whatever. It's great, wonderful. Another Willy Wonka. I'm so happy that we get to do another movie where we compare whoever's playing Willy Wonka to Gene Wilder.
And they will come up.
Who do you think it should be?
Fantastic. I don't know. Then I could.
Guy
someone,
Fieri.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Or
I forgot we already
maybe not
decided
Bobby
that.
Flay. Fuck that guy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you heard me, Bobby
Flay
Flay.
beef.
I'm calling you out.
Is it going to be a musical?
I don't know. Maybe.
And
Yeah, the
who's
remake
singing
was
now?
Cardi B.
Great.
I'm not sure if it'll be a musical or not. I will say this: Paddington, again, to me, from the advertisements, looked terrible. Sounded like a bad idea. It was a delightful film. You never know. This, I think, on paper, is a horrible
I'm
idea.
not saying it's going to be terrible. It just doesn't
Right.
excite me in any way, shape, or form.
We've
Whatever.
been down this road.
It's fine.
What's a
Whatever.
piece of entertainment news that would excite you?
that would excite me?
Yeah.
I get excited about a lot of things. I like looking at news, box
Charts.
office and business things. I like to look at how things are doing and what my favorite directors are up to, what's in development.
No, I like that question though. Like, if you heard this morning that blah blah blah, what would flip you out? Like the best news you could hear.
The best news that I could ever hear.
Yeah, entertainment news.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
you put a box
Yeah.
around it.
Star Wars is coming out once a year. Star Wars is coming out once every 2 years. Star Wars is coming out once every 3 years. That'd be great. Hey, there's a Star Wars movie coming out, and then you get to miss it for a while and actually anticipate the next one instead of just waiting for a year or less until another one comes out. And that goes for just about any friend. I just, it's like with X-Men, Kitty Pryde. She's a good character. I'm sure it'll be fun, but it's like, great. That'll be the 5th in 7 year, the 7th in 5 years X-Men movie. I'm just let's.
Yeah.
Come on, Hollywood. Let's mix it up a little bit. It's like it's the same 20 properties put into a dryer or like one of those bingo ball things, and they spin it around, and the executives pull out, and they're like, "Oh, Willy Wonka. Okay, we'll work on that." And then they spin it around, and they pull out the next intellectual property, and it's like Star Wars 18. All right, let's go work on that. And it's like, let's.
How's that Tetris movie trilogy coming?
Yeah,
out?
exactly.
I don't know about that.
There you go.
We want an
Great
update on that one. I'm excited.
About
I'll
the kitchen.
I'll provide a counterpoint. Oh yeah. You want to
King
say?
Arthur.
know.
Oh, we haven't seen
What
that
do
one
you-
come out.
I was
in a
gonna say
while.
Armageddon. Is that what it's called? The Alex Garland original
Oh,
sci-fi movie?
Annihilation.
Annihilation. Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, Annihilation.
Okay, very different.
Armageddon.
An original science fiction movie from a promising up-and-coming director before he's swooped up by Star Wars.
Yeah,
Who
well,
is it? One of those people that looks like Natalie Portman, Keira Knightley?
It is Natalie.
it
Oh,
is Natalie Portman.
It is
Yeah,
Natalie Portman,
it is actually Natalie
that
herself.
trailer. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I'm going to that.
It looks, I've heard really mixed things about Annihilation. I am very excited about it because the things that I have heard that are bad and good are all the things that I like. That
Yes.
it's very
I heard
weird.
It's very weird and trippy.
Yeah.
And he made Ex Machina, so up and comer, excited,
Yeah.
and it's getting good reviews. You're right, mixed, but
I can't
mostly
wait
good.
for Sony to put him in charge of the next Robin Hood reboot.
Well, that's a little bit here. He might, that's also up to him, right? That's up to the
Yeah, he's
director
doing.
too.
I was reading about he's doing like a Netflix series or
Yeah.
FX series or something next.
What is it?
I mean, I don't think we're going to see.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Good talk. Good talk.
We're not going to see Jordan Peele out there. I mean, look, am I with you that directors should think through the choices that they're making? Sure, because they're going to
Nah.
invest for 4 years in this, whatever it is that they're doing. But
It's not even so much director. Directors are like actors. They're professionals and they have to work. It's more of the people that are in charge of developing these things. I just think we need to inject a little pep
Pep in your
a
step.
little vigor, maybe some new blood, something to like, hey, let's step our game up a little bit, because it's, there's been some progress, but it's at the same time I think it's just a lot of just like, I don't know, what have we not done in 5 years? Willy Wonka, okay, whatever. Do that. Peter Pan, yeah, there's only been like 10 Peter Pan movies in the last 15 years. Let's do another Peter Pan.
And only one featuring Nirvana.
It's so sad when you say it.
It's kind of sad when they do it. So,
Yeah.
Here's something that's different. It's called The Kitchen. Yeah, it's a new property based on a comic.
Nice.
Starring Melissa McCarthy and Tiffany Haddish. Now, these are two women that have had big careers, but also breakout stars of huge female-driven comedies that were very, very successful. So the thing to do would be to put them in a gritty drama together, according to New Line Cinema and DC Entertainment, who are making the film. Now, this is based on a comic that is about mafia wives. Their husbands get arrested. They rise up and take over and are far more brutal than their husbands before them. And according to Deadline, this is a drama. And it's
Based
just
on your description as well.
Yeah.
well, I mean, I could have said a similar thing about like Married to the Mob,
Yeah.
which was a hard-hitting drama, so the description really doesn't mean anything. But it's interesting to me. I think Melissa McCarthy, for the record, is insanely talented. I think she gets a hugely bad rap because she was big for a minute and did a couple of bad films that I actually never saw. So maybe I'm like,
which ones?
Heat.
I like the Heat.
And I didn't
the
see
Heat.
it.
Oh.
I heard
And
mixed
people hated
Ghostbusters. Which
no, not
wasn't
that.
very
No,
good.
before that.
Identity Thief?
Identity
Spy?
Thief.
That was terrible.
I liked Spy. I thought Spy was
Spy was
funny.
great.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Jason
Yeah.
Statham's hilarious in that.
I think she's
Identity Thief was
wildly
pretty bad.
funny and talented. She
didn't
was in
see
St. Vincent, where she played
Yeah,
she was great in that. And that was a slightly more dramatic role. Tiffany Haddish is also obviously wildly talented, so there's absolutely no reason they can't do a drama.
Melissa McCarthy was also a theater actress for a long time too.
Yeah. But is it a little, like, just on paper weird?
I mean, it's not what you would think when you were casting a drama with two female leads. You wouldn't immediately go to them. But this happens all the time, where comedians all of a sudden blow your mind with the most dramatic performance. It's interesting that this is a Vertigo property and it's being done at New Line. I'm curious if it connects to any of our other. We've got a lot of Vertigo properties on television right now. Lucifer, iZombie, Preacher, those are all Vertigo properties. And they are all darker, grittier kind of things. But New Line, I believe, is the one that's doing Shazam. Not that these two would be connected because of that, but it's just interesting that New Line is taking this like little corner of DC. Yeah.
Yeah. Preacher's a pretty mixed tone. It's like very hype. Do you guys watch Preacher?
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
episodes.
See it.
Yeah. The second season is infinitely
It's
better than the first season.
So good.
It's really good. It's got that like weird comedy, but also disgusting and horrifying.
Yeah, much like
Fargo,
the comic.
kind of, yeah.
This is, I mean, look, I think you're right. We've seen over and over again comedians take dramatic turns. It's just interesting to see the two of them put together for that purpose. But maybe it'll be great. Surprising, even.
Yeah, surprising. Yeah, I mean, the X factor for me is Tiffany Haddish, just because like the first time I really saw her in anything was Girls Trip. She was amazing, but that's my only basis of comparison for her. Whereas I have a little bit more from Melissa McCarthy. But
Have you seen her on SNL? Did you see her?
I know, yeah, SNL. I mean, yeah, I've seen
Bits and pieces.
Yeah, but like movie wise, is the Girls Trip is the only movie that I've seen her in, and but I think people are always surprised that comedians can act, and it's like comedy's really hard. Like it's hard to do a good comedic character and like it's really easy to be not funny. And
Robin
it's really
Williams.
hard to be funny. Yeah, and I think people are always surprised that people like Jim Carrey and Robin Williams and Melissa McCarthy and all these comedians and Bill Murray can be great dramatic actors. It's like, yeah, because comedy's really hard. It's creating a character like anything else.
And in
Yeah, and
addition, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, comedy is something that you, when it's done well, is especially in like movies, is something that's done on top of drama. It's like drama plus jokes.
Right.
It doesn't work if you're just being funny for funny's sake, especially in like a feature film.
Right, which
Yeah.
is too broad, is what you're saying, if
Yeah.
it's not grounded in some actual drama. Yeah, I think it sounds pretty cool. I think they're great. I think she has been. I have no idea where the vitriol towards her comes from because
Ghostbusters.
it was before that.
Oh, really?
She was
Yeah.
falling into a bit of a slump. She'd done a couple clunky. She had what was the one? The Boss. I think the one that came out around Batman v Superman was not very well
good.
received, and she
forgot
seemed to
about
be
that.
falling into some kind of like wig and falling over a trap a little bit. So
maybe
I
that's
think
why
that-
she wants to do this.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, everyone makes stinkers.
Yeah. Including us. Thank you for joining us today.
What are you trying to say? He's trying to say, Rob?
This was a fine episode,
Yeah,
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, Roxy.
B, yeah.
Yeah.
10 out of 10 always.
Oh, positive
Always.
Roxy. What are you saying, Dan?
Yeah, it's all right. I don't think it was any worse than usual.
So about a 6. About
Ringing
a 6.
endorsement from Dan Murrell.
Yeah, not worse than usual.
Thank you for joining us today. There
Plug
are things
the
for
things.
you. I'm going to plug the things. There's honest trailers that you guys should watch. It is a long-awaited Blade Trilogy.
Yeah,
Trinity.
Including Trinity, yeah. Both of them.
You should watch that. The Honest Trailer Commentaries is also available for your viewing pleasure. What else do we have that we want people to watch? Charting is going to be.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah. We got some
All of it.
charting, all of the
Charting.
things from yesterday. Talk about that box office, get those numbers. That's where you see Dan get excited and happy and delighted. And here right now.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah. People wonder like where the grumpy thing comes from. I can't muster that much excitement over Willy Wonka. I'm sorry. I do my best, but you know, it's
What
it's
about
an honest
the
show.
Guy Fieri Willy Wonka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 10 times more excited for that.
2
movie.
tickets to Flavortown, please.
It sounds like a
Flavortown.
train wreck, and I can't
This
wait to
just
see it.
in, Star Wars every 2 years. Dan.
Dan!
Hey.
I would be so excited by that.
And that's what we call a callback.
Yeah. Well done, Roxy. Thank you, guys. Star Wars every 2 years. Make sure you tweet about it now.
You heard it here
That's the
first.
news. Heard it here first. Real news.